Imagine two people. Both walk into the same room. The first one's shoulders are tight, scanning faces, waiting for approval, bracing for rejection. The second one walks in calmly, no performance in their step, no desperate need to impress. They both hear the same words. One shatters. The other barely flinches. Why? It's not about being born tougher. It's not about having a thicker skin. The difference is that one person is at war with themselves, and the other has made peace. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spent a lifetime studying this gap between people. He concluded that the ones who seem unshakable aren't the ones who have eliminated their weaknesses. They are the ones who have befriended them. While the world tells us to bury our fears, our envy, our shame, these rare individuals do the opposite. They turn around and face the darkness head on. They carry a light not to banish the shadows, but to see what's hiding there. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most of us go through life bumping into walls, blaming luck, blaming people, blaming the economy. But the wall is often just a mirror. It reflects the part of yourself you refuse to see. Every time you react with irrational anger, every time you feel that sting of jealousy, every time you shut down because you felt small, that's not just life happening to you. That's your inner world knocking. That's a door you haven't opened. To build a mind that others instinctively respect, not because you're loud, but because you're deep, you have to stop running. You have to start the descent. And that is exactly what we're going to walk through today. Not just how to be strong, but how to become so integrated, so whole, that your very presence makes the chaos around you settle. This is not about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about understanding where the pain comes from. It's about realizing that no one can truly disturb your peace unless you have a hidden turbulence inside that matches their frequency. So here is the challenge, if you're willing to take it. Watch this to the end. Don't just listen. Let the words land. And if you're serious about understanding the architecture of your own mind, leave a comment with 2 words. I descend. That's your pact with yourself to start the first part of the journey. Part 1. The descent into the shadow. There is a room inside you that you never enter. It's the room where you keep the things you don't want to see. The burst of rage that scared you. The envy that made you feel small. The fear that you're not enough. You locked that door years ago, painted it over, and put a heavy cabinet in front of it. You tell yourself it doesn't exist, but it does. And the energy in that room doesn't just sit still. It seeps through the cracks. It influences your decisions. It whispers in your ear. Jung gave this room a name. He called it the shadow. The shadow is not a monster. It is not evil. It is simply the part of your totality that you have rejected. It's the anger you were told was bad as a child. It's the ambition you were shamed for. It's the sensuality you were taught to hide. Everything you disowned didn't disappear. It just went underground. And from down there, it pulls the strings. Jung said, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. He meant that you cannot truly be good if you are only pretending the bad isn't there. You cannot be truly kind if you are secretly furious and burying it. The shadow always wins the long game. It waits until you are tired, until you are triggered, and then it erupts. Think back to the last time you overreacted to something small. Someone made a passing comment, and you felt a fire inside that didn't fit the moment. That fire came from the basement. It came from that locked room. You weren't just reacting to the comment. You were reacting to every time in your life you felt unseen, every memory of being dismissed, every wound you never tended to. The person in front of you just happened to be the one who lit the fuse. But the bomb was built long ago. So what do? You stop running. You turn the key. You walk into the room. The first time you do this, it feels like death. It feels like looking at your own face in a broken mirror. But this is the exact moment power is born. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The darkness doesn't need to be destroyed. It needs to be understood. It needs to be integrated. Consider the emotion of envy. Most people feel envy and immediately suppress it. They say, "I'm happy for them," while a part of them withers. But if you sit with envy, if you ask it what it wants, it will tell you something vital. It will tell you what you truly desire. It will show you the path you are too afraid to walk. Envy is a distorted map to your own potential. When you stop shaming it and start decoding it, it loses its power to poison you. It becomes fuel. This is the work of the shadow. It's not a one-time fix. It's a daily practice of honesty. Every time you feel a flash of irritation, you pause. You ask, what part of me is speaking right now? What old wound is being touched? The answers won't be pretty. They will show you your pettiness, your fears, your hunger for validation. But every time you look, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You stop being a puppet. You start becoming a person. Why do we avoid this? Because it hurts. Because it's easier to blame the world than to examine ourselves. But the paradox is that this pain is the very door to strength. A person who has never confronted their shadow is like a building with no foundation. The first storm topples them. But a person who has walked through their own darkness has roots that go deep. They are not easily offended because they know their own triggers. They are not easily manipulated because they know their own wounds. They have seen the worst of themselves and survived. After that, what can the world really do to them? Part 2. Stepping out of the story of the victim. Once you start recognizing the shadow, you begin to see a pattern. You notice how often you have played a certain role. The role of the one to whom things happen. The role of the one who is always let down. The role of the victim. Jung saw this as an archetype, a universal pattern of behavior that lives in the collective human psyche. The victim archetype is seductive. It gives you a reason to stop trying. It gives you an audience for your pain. It gives you the moral high ground. But it steals your future. When you identify as a victim, you are not lying about your pain. Pain is real. Bad things happen. People betray you. Life is unfair. But the archetype kicks in when you take that pain and build an identity around it. You start saying, "I am this way because of what they did." You start believing that your power to change is gone because the damage is done. Jung warned against this fusion with the archetype. He said the goal is not to be free of pain, but to be free of the story that says the pain defines you. Look closely at the voice in your head, the one that says, "I can't because I wasn't given the right start." The one that says, "I would be happy if only they would change." That voice is not your true self. That voice is the script of the victim. It is a program running in the background, and as long as that program runs, you are helpless. Not because you lack ability, but because you have surrendered your agency to a story. Jung spoke of the importance of separating yourself from the complexes that possess you. A complex is a cluster of emotions and memories around a theme. The victim complex is a powerful one. It gathers every time you were slighted, every time you were ignored, every time you were hurt. It weaves them into a narrative that says, the world is against you. But here's the truth. The world is not against you. The world is indifferent. And that indifference is actually the space where freedom lives. If the world is indifferent, then you are free to choose your response. You are free to stop waiting for an apology that may never come. You are free to stop hoping for justice from people who will never give it. You are free to build, regardless of the rubble. This is the shift. From "why is this happening to me?" to what am I going to do with this? The first question keeps you trapped. The second question sets you free. A man loses his job. The victim in him says, "They always undervalued me. This always happens to me." He spends months bitter, scrolling job sites, feeling sorry for himself. Another man loses his job. He feels the same pain. He feels the injustice. But then he asks, what does this space make possible? Maybe it's the push he needed to start his own thing. Maybe it's a sign he was on the wrong path. The event is the same. The difference is the question. Jung believed that the key to escaping the archetype is to see it. The moment you see yourself playing the victim, you are no longer fully in it. There is a part of you that is watching. That watcher is your true self. And that self has the power to choose a different response. It doesn't deny the pain. It just refuses to let the pain write the entire story. So how do you practice this? Start with the small things. When you catch yourself complaining about traffic, about the weather, about a rude cashier, stop. Ask, who is speaking? Is this really a problem? Or am I just rehearsing the role of the one who is inconvenienced? It sounds trivial, but the mind is trained in the small moments. If you can catch yourself in the minor victim stories, you build the muscle for the major ones. You build the capacity to hold pain without becoming it. Eventually, you arrive at a place where you can say, "This happened. It was hard. And I am still here. And I am still capable of choosing." That is the voice of the sovereign self. That is the voice that has stepped out of the shadow of the victim and into the light of responsibility. And responsibility, despite how heavy it sounds, is actually the most freeing thing in the world. Because when you take responsibility, you take back the pen. You become the author again. Part 3. Tapping into the deeper ocean. You've started to see your shadow. You've started to untangle yourself from the victim story. Now you begin to notice something strange. The fears you have, the symbols that appear in your dreams, the instincts that guide you, they don't feel entirely personal. They feel ancient. They feel like they belong to something bigger. Jung would nod here. He would say you are brushing up against the collective unconscious. This is the deep layer of the psyche that is not yours alone. It's the inherited pool of human experience. Every human who ever lived, who ever feared the dark, who ever worshipped the sun, who ever told stories around a fire, they all contributed to this ocean. You are born swimming in it. The images and patterns that arise in your mind, the archetypes, are the currents in this ocean. You felt this. You know the story of the hero without ever being taught it. You know the feeling of the wise old man or woman. You recognize the mother figure, the trickster, the rebel. These aren't just characters in movies. They are living patterns in your psyche. They influence who you are attracted to, what you admire, what you fear. When you fall in love, you aren't just loving a person. You are often projecting an archetype onto them, the anima or the animus, the inner image of the perfect counterpart. Understanding this changes everything. Because when you know that you are being moved by these deep currents, you can start to navigate them. Instead of being swept away by a wave of anger, you can recognize the warrior archetype rising. You can ask, is this anger calling me to defend a boundary? Or is it just the old pattern of aggression looking for a target? Instead of being consumed by a need to save someone, you can recognize the mother archetype and ask, is this genuine compassion, or am I trying to fill a void by making myself indispensable? This is the work of discernment. The archetypes are not bad. They are the source of your deepest passions and your most profound creativity. But when you are unconscious of them, they possess you. When you are conscious of them, you can channel them. You can become the artist who uses the rebel energy to break new ground. You can become the leader who uses the king archetype to create order and justice. You don't eliminate the archetype. You learn to conduct the orchestra. Think of your dreams. Jung saw dreams as the direct voice of the unconscious. They are not random noise. They are symbolic messages from the deep ocean. A snake in a dream might not be about a snake. It might be about transformation, about something ancient and instinctual waking up in you. A house might be a symbol of your own psyche. Different rooms represent different parts of yourself. When you start paying attention to these symbols, you start a dialogue with the collective unconscious. You start receiving guidance that logic alone can't provide. So how do you access this? You create space for it. You sit in silence. You pay attention to your dreams. You notice the coincidences in your life, what Jung called synchronicity. Those moments when the outer world seems to mirror your inner state. They are not just coincidences. They are hints that the boundary between you and the world is thinner than you think. They are winks from the deeper self. When you start living in dialogue with the collective unconscious, you lose that sense of isolation. You realize that your struggles are not just your own. They are human struggles. Your pain is the pain of every person who ever lost something. Your longing is the longing of every soul that ever reached for meaning. You are not a separate drop. You are the ocean experiencing itself through a drop. And that realization brings a peace that is almost impossible to disturb. Because how can you fear the waves when you know you are the water? Part 4. The long road home. Individuation. Now we arrive at the destination of the entire inner journey. Jung called it individuation. It's a word that sounds complex, but it simply means becoming undivided. It means becoming the person you actually are, not the person you were told to be. It's the process of peeling away the layers of social mask, of parental expectation, of cultural conditioning, until nothing is left but the authentic core. Most people never attempt this. It's too scary. The masks are comfortable. They protect us from rejection. We wear the mask of the good employee, the loyal partner, the strong one, the nice one. But behind the mask, the self starves. It whispers in moments of quiet. It sends dreams of being lost, of falling, of being chased. These are not signs of madness. These are signs that the self wants to be born. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Notice he didn't say it was easy. He said it was a privilege. Because the path to yourself goes through everything you are not. You have to shed the identity you built to survive your childhood. You have to grieve the person you could have been if you had made different choices. You have to face the parts of you that are weak, that are scared, that are small. And you have to embrace them, not fix them. Individuation is like sculpture. You don't add clay to make the statue. You chip away everything that isn't the statue. The marble is already full of the form. Your job is to remove the excess. The excess is the false beliefs, the borrowed ambitions, the fear of judgment. Every time you let go of needing to be liked, you chip away some marble. Every time you speak your truth, even though your voice shakes, you chip away some marble. Every time you honor a feeling you were taught to hide, you reveal more of the form. This process is not linear. It's a spiral. You think you've dealt with something, and it comes back in a new form. But each time you meet it, you are deeper. You are stronger. You are more you. Jung observed that this journey is mirrored in every culture's myths. The hero leaves the known world, faces trials, descends into the underworld, and returns with a gift. The gift is not gold. It's wisdom. It's the self. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when the applause stops? Who are you when the roles fall away? That is the question individuation asks. And the answer isn't found in a book. It's found in the quiet moments of choice. It's found in the decision to be honest when a lie would be easier. It's found in the courage to walk away from a path that pays well, but feels hollow. When you get closer to this state, something shifts. You stop competing. You stop comparing. You see others on their own journey, and you feel compassion instead of envy. You see their masks, but you don't judge them, because you remember wearing your own. You become a place of refuge for people who are also seeking. Not because you try to be, but because authenticity naturally attracts those who are ready to be real. This is the pinnacle of strength. Not the strength to dominate, but the strength to be. And a person who has achieved this, even partially, walks differently. They are calm in a way that makes others nervous. Because most people are used to chaos. They are used to manipulation. They are used to reading the room to see what they should feel. But when they meet someone who is simply themselves, it's unsettling. It's a mirror. And not everyone is ready to look. Part 5. Daily Disciplines of the Awakened Mind. So how do you live this? How do you take these vast concepts and bring them into Tuesday afternoon? Jung was practical. He knew that insight without action is just fantasy. The mind is trained the same way a body is trained. Through repetition, through discipline, through small, consistent choices. First, you build the habit of self-observation. This is the foundation. You can't change what you don't see. So you start watching yourself like a scientist. You notice when you're triggered. You notice the physical sensation in your body before the emotion takes over. The tightness in your chest, the heat in your face. That sensation is the early warning. It's the moment before you react. In that gap, you have a choice. Most people live their whole lives without ever finding that gap. They just go from trigger to reaction automatically. But you can learn to pause, just for a breath, just to ask, what is happening inside me right now? Second, you create a practice of honest expression. This doesn't mean you dump your emotions on everyone. It means you have a private space where you tell the truth. A journal is perfect for this. You write without editing. You write the thoughts you're ashamed of. You write the envy, the rage, the fear. You let it out on the page. And as you write, you start to see the patterns. You start to see the same fears repeating. And seeing them is the first step to loosening their grip. Third, you cultivate silence. Not just quiet, but inner stillness. The world is a machine designed to keep you distracted. If you are always consuming, always scrolling, always listening to noise, you never hear the quiet voice of the self. So you carve out time, even 10 minutes a day, to just sit. No phone, no book, no agenda. You just watch your breath. You watch your thoughts come and go like clouds. You learn that you are not the thoughts. You are the sky they pass through. Fourth, you practice being with discomfort. A weak mind runs from pain. A strong mind stays present with it, just long enough to learn from it. When you feel sad, you don't immediately reach for a distraction. You sit with the sadness. You ask it what it wants to show you. When you feel anxious, you don't numb it. You breathe into it. You let it move through you. This is how you build resilience. Not by avoiding the storm, but by learning to stand in the rain without crumbling. Fifth, you engage in active imagination. This was one of Jung's key techniques. You pick an image from a dream or a feeling that won't leave you alone. You close your eyes and you let it speak. You might imagine a figure. You might see a place. You ask it questions. Who are you? What do you want? And you listen. The answers might surprise you. This isn't fantasy. It's a dialogue with the unconscious. It's how you bring the wisdom of the deep ocean into your conscious life. Sixth, you build small rituals. Rituals anchor you. They remind you of what matters. It could be lighting a candle before you write. It could be a walk at dawn. It could be a moment of gratitude before you eat. These small acts create a container for your inner life. They are the fences that keep the chaos out. They are the sacred, in the midst of the mundane. Seventh, you learn to live with questions. The ego wants answers. It wants certainty. But the soul thrives in mystery. Jung said, "I don't need to have answers for everything. I would rather walk in the dark and gradually find my own way than be given a map that isn't mine." So you learn to tolerate not knowing. You learn to trust that the path will reveal itself as you walk. This is faith, not in a doctrine, but in the process of life itself. Finally, you practice self-compassion. You will fail. You will forget everything you learned and react like a child. You will fall back into old patterns. This is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are human. The awakened mind does not shame itself for falling. It simply gets back up, dusts itself off, and continues the journey. It understands that the path is not a straight line. It is a spiral. And every time you return to an old lesson, you return with deeper understanding. Conclusion. And so we arrive back where we started. But nothing is the same. You came here perhaps looking for a formula to become invincible. What you found is something different. You found that true strength is not about never being hurt. It's about being so whole that hurt cannot define you. It's about knowing your own darkness so well that no one can use it against you. It's about stepping out of the role of the victim and into the role of the creator. It's about feeling the ancient currents of the collective unconscious move through you without being swept away. It's about the long, patient work of becoming yourself. The world will always try to shape you. It will tell you to be smaller, to be louder, to fit in, to stand out, to please, to perform. But the voice of your own soul is quieter. It speaks in dreams, in longings, in the things you envy, in the things that make you angry. It is calling you home, not to a place, but to a state of being. A state where you are no longer divided. A state where you are simply, fully, yourself. This is not the end. It is the beginning. The beginning of a life where you are the author, not the character. Where you walk through the world not as a bundle of reactions, but as a presence. And that presence, that quiet, integrated, awake presence, is the most powerful thing there is. It is the mountain that the storm cannot move. It is the light that the darkness cannot comprehend. From here, the choice is yours. Every moment is a chance to practice. Every interaction is a mirror. Every difficulty is a teacher. The work never ends, but neither does the reward. The reward is you, fully realized, fully alive, fully home. If this journey resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt that call, then honor it, not with a thought, but with an action. Leave your comment. I descend. It's a small mark, but it's a start. It's a flag in the ground that says, I am choosing the path. Thank you for walking this far. The door is open. The rest is up to you.